Well, why doesn't God just reveal himself in a really obvious way? Because then more people would believe in him. Maybe that's something that you thought as a non-Christian. You think, I don't really think God exists, but man, if he just sent me an angel or did some sort of miracle in front of my very eyes, then I'd believe in him. Or maybe you're a Christian and you're frustrated that your non-Christian friend doesn't believe in God's existence, and you think to yourself, if God just did some sort of amazing fireworks display right in front of their very eyes, something which would make it undeniable that he really does exist, then they'd have faith in him and they'd believe in him, and surely it would be a better thing. You ever think that? Why does God not make himself more obviously known? Why does he not do some sort of miracle or amazing superpower in front of people's eyes so that they believe? Well, the short answer is that even if God was to do the sort of thing which you might be thinking of, it doesn't necessarily mean that that person will believe in God's existence, or even believe that he's someone worth following. And you say, how do you know that? Well, history tells us that that is exactly the case. In fact, maybe more specifically, biblical history tells us that that's not the case. As you read through the Bible, what you discover is so many examples of people who see God do amazing things, and in spite of the amazing things they see God do with their very own eyes, they still fail to believe in him. Let me give you a couple of examples. One really obvious example is the Old Testament people of Israel. Here's the generation who we in many ways would envy. The amount of times they saw God do the unthinkable was astonishing. This wilderness generation saw God literally split the Red Sea for them to pass through it as the Egyptians, their enemies, were hot on their tail. This generation saw God send plague after plague to the mighty Pharaoh and the whole nation. This generation saw God lead them by a pillar of cloud in the morning and a pillar of fire in the evening. This is the generation who saw God provide them manna from heaven. What more obvious demonstration of God's existence do you need? Yet the majority of these Israelites perished in unbelief because they did not really believe or have faith in God. Another example can be found in the New Testament in John chapter 12 when God is literally speaking in flesh. Jesus has come, God in flesh. He's speaking to the crowds. And as he speaks to the crowds in John chapter 12, notice what John says in verse 37. He says this: when Jesus had said these things, he's preaching to the crowd, he departed and hid himself from them. Though he had done so many signs before them, they still did not believe in him. There's just a number of examples. You could point to many more of so many people in the scriptures who saw God's amazing miracles, signs, wonders. They even saw God in the flesh, but they still did not believe in him. And, not just the characters in the scriptures, not only do they have good evidence, undeniable evidence as to God's existence. The truth is, the Bible says we too, as human beings, right now in the 21st century, we too have undeniable evidence regarding God's existence. One of the most obvious means through which God has revealed himself is through creation. Romans 1, Paul tells us God has revealed himself in creation, and so by virtue of there being creation, we should automatically know intuitively that there is a creator. It's obvious. When you look around at this place, you should know instinctively something or someone must have designed this. Creation points to a creator. And so the question then is this: well, then why do more people not believe? And Paul gives us the answer in Romans chapter 1, and it's this: that we suppress the truth. We suppress the truth in our hearts that there really is a creator. That literally means we drown it out. We don't want to hear about it. It's kind of like when someone maybe said to you at school, do you know our first exam is in 6 weeks' time? And you would kind of say, I don't want to hear that. Don't talk to me about that. You know objectively it's true that the exam is in 6 weeks' time, but you don't want to hear about it. You suppress the truth of that reality. And that's the exact same thing we do with God. We drown out the notion that God might exist. We feel appeased by theories that mean he doesn't exist. Why do we do that? Because for many of us, if we're totally honest, we don't want God to exist. Because if God exists, that means we are morally accountable to him. It means what I do matters. It means how I spend my life matters. Because here's the truth: most people aren't on a truth quest, they're on a happiness quest. They want to live a life that makes them happy, and for some people, most people, God just kind of gets in the way of them living the life that they really want to live. And so why has God not revealed himself to people today in a more obvious way? Two things. Firstly, if God did reveal himself, perhaps in the way that you're thinking, it doesn't necessarily mean that more people will believe. History testifies that that's the case. Secondly, God has actually revealed himself to all of us in a ton of ways, most notably in creation. Yet because of our desire to suppress the truth and not be morally accountable to a creator, it doesn't lead quite often to people professing Christ as Lord.